My 28F brother's wife, 31F, uninvited me from Christmas after I refused to pretend her miracle baby isn't from an affair, and now my entire family is imploding. Throwaway account because half my family is on Reddit, and this situation has gotten so nuclear that I need advice from people who aren't emotionally invested. I genuinely don't even know where to begin with this mess, so I'm just going to start from the beginning and try to lay out everything as clearly as possible. I'm sorry if this gets long, but there's a lot of context needed to understand why I'm currently sitting in my apartment, uninvited from Christmas, being called a family-destroying monster by my sister-in-law. The background. My brother, Dean, 34M, has always been the golden child of our family. I don't mean that in a bitter way. He genuinely deserves the title. He's kind, successful, intelligent, and has always been the person everyone turns to when they need help. Growing up, he was the one who helped me with homework, drove me to friends' houses when our parents couldn't, and stood up for me when I was bullied in middle school. We've always been close, despite the age gap. He's not just my brother, he's been my role model and best friend my entire life. 8 years ago, Dean met Melissa, 31F, at a work conference. She's a marketing executive, very polished and professional. To be honest, I never felt super close to her, but she made Dean happy, and that was enough for me. They got married 5 years ago in this beautiful outdoor ceremony, and everything seemed perfect. About 4 years ago, Dean and Melissa started trying for a baby. They were both excited about starting a family. Dean had always wanted kids. He's the kind of guy who lights up around children, who always volunteers to hold the baby at family gatherings. But months went by, then a year, then 2 years, and nothing happened. Eventually, they went to a fertility specialist. That's when they got devastating news. Dean has severe male factor infertility. I'm not going to get into all the medical details because Dean shared them with me in confidence, but essentially, multiple doctors told them that natural conception was virtually impossible. We're talking less than a 1% chance. The doctors recommended IVF with ICSI, some kind of specialized procedure, as basically their only option for having a biological child together. I remember the day Dean told me. We met for lunch, and he just broke down crying in the middle of the restaurant. He felt like he was broken, like he was failing Melissa and failing as a man. It broke my heart. I tried to be supportive, reminded him that there were so many options: IVF, adoption, surrogacy, and that he would be an amazing father regardless of genetics. Dean was on board with IVF immediately. He started researching clinics, looking into financing options, the whole 9 yards. But here's where things got weird. Melissa was really resistant to it. She kept making excuses. It was too expensive. Dean offered to take out a loan. It was too invasive, understandable, but she didn't want to even try once. The success rates weren't guaranteed. True, but what's the alternative? Dean was confused and hurt, but he didn't want to pressure her. They went to couples counseling to work through it. From what Dean told me, Melissa eventually said she was coming around to the idea, and they were planning to start the process. But there was this weird tension between them for those couple of years. Dean threw himself into work. Melissa became more distant from our family, skipping dinners and events. I figured they were just going through a rough patch and would work it out. The announcement. Last October, everything changed. Dean called me at like 10 p.m. on a Tuesday, absolutely ecstatic. Melissa was pregnant. Naturally pregnant. He kept saying it's a miracle and the doctors were wrong, and he was just so happy. I was happy for him, of course I was. But I couldn't help feeling skeptical. I'm not a doctor, but I know enough to understand that when multiple fertility specialists tell you that natural conception is essentially impossible, they're not just guessing. But Dean was so overjoyed that I didn't want to rain on his parade. I told myself that medical miracles do happen, that maybe the doctors had been overly pessimistic, that maybe stress had been a factor, and once they relaxed about it, it just happened. My mom was thrilled. My dad was thrilled. Everyone was calling it a miracle baby and thanking God and celebrating. Melissa was glowing and soaking up all the attention. But then Melissa started acting really strange around me specifically. Before the pregnancy, we'd had a cordial relationship. Not super close, but friendly enough. We'd chat at family dinners, exchange pleasantries, occasionally get coffee if Dean wanted us to bond. But after the pregnancy announcement, everything changed. She became cold and distant. If I asked about the pregnancy, she'd give one-word answers and change the subject. If I offered to help with baby shower planning, she'd say she had it covered. One time I came over to bring Dean some of his favorite cookies I'd baked, and Melissa physically blocked me at the door, took the cookies, and said Dean was busy. I could literally see him in the living room behind her. The weirdest incident was at her baby shower in March. I'd bought a thoughtful gift, a custom baby book for documenting milestones and memories. When I gave it to her, she barely looked at it, said thanks in the flattest tone possible, and set it aside. Later, I saw her opening other gifts and gushing over much simpler items. My mom noticed too, and asked me if I'd done something to upset Melissa. I honestly had no idea. I tried to talk to Dean about it. He brushed it off, said Melissa was just hormonal and stressed about the pregnancy. I accepted that explanation, even though something felt off. The birth and baptism. The baby, Tyler, was born in early June. Dean sent a photo to our family group chat, and everyone went crazy. He was adorable, all babies are. But even in that first photo, I noticed something. This baby didn't look anything like Dean.
Or me.
Or our parents. Or anyone in our family. Our family has very distinctive features. We're all pretty pale, that Northern European complexion that burns instead of tans. Light brown to blonde hair. Blue or green eyes. Our dad jokes that we're so pale we glow in the dark. Even at family reunions you can spot the blood relatives from the in-laws pretty easily. Tyler had jet black hair. Not light brown that might darken, jet black. Dark brown, almost black eyes. And his skin tone, even as a newborn, was noticeably olive-toned. I told myself I was being ridiculous. Genetics are weird, right? Recessive genes can skip generations. Maybe there was some distant ancestor who had these features. I didn't say anything to anyone. The baptism was in August. The whole family was there, plus Melissa's family and friends. That's when I met Marcus. Melissa introduced him as her childhood friend from her hometown. Which was strange, because in 8 years of knowing Melissa, I had never once heard her mention a Marcus. Not once. Dean had mentioned Melissa's childhood friends before, Sarah and Jen, who she'd gone to high school with. But never a Marcus. Marcus was friendly enough. Mid-30s, tall, athletic build. And here's the thing. This man looked exactly like Tyler. Jet black hair. Dark brown eyes. Olive skin. Same facial structure. Same nose shape. Same everything. When he held Tyler for a photo, they could have been father and son. They looked more alike than Tyler and Dean looked. I watched Melissa interact with Marcus throughout the afternoon, and her behavior was bizarre. She'd be overly friendly and touchy one moment, laughing too loudly at his jokes, touching his arm, reminiscing about old times, and then suddenly cold and distant the next, barely acknowledging him. Dean seemed oblivious, too busy playing the proud dad and showing Tyler off to everyone. At one point, I saw Marcus and Melissa step outside together. I wasn't trying to spy, but I went to get something from my car and saw them having what looked like an intense conversation near the parking lot. Melissa looked upset. Marcus was gesturing emphatically. When they noticed me, they immediately stopped talking and went in opposite directions. I felt sick to my stomach. I tried to convince myself I was reading too much into things, that I was being paranoid and seeing connections that weren't there. But I couldn't shake the feeling. The confrontation. I wrestled with what to do for about a month. Part of me thought I should mind my own business. Dean seemed happy. The baby was healthy. Maybe the truth, whatever it was, would do more harm than good. But the other part of me couldn't stop thinking about it. This was my brother. What if he was being lied to? What if he was raising another man's child without knowing? Didn't he deserve to know the truth? In late September, I decided I had to say something. I invited Dean out for lunch, just the two of us. I was so nervous I barely ate. Dean, I said, I need to talk to you about something and I need you to hear me out before you get upset. He immediately looked concerned. What's wrong? Are you okay? I'm fine. It's just, I've been noticing some things, and I think you should get a paternity test for Tyler. The expression on his face changed instantly. Confusion, then hurt, then anger. What the hell are you talking about? I tried to explain as gently as possible. The timing of the pregnancy, given his diagnosis. The way Melissa had been acting. The fact that Tyler looked nothing like our family. Marcus appearing out of nowhere and looking exactly like Tyler. Dean was furious. He told me I was being paranoid and cruel. That genetics are complicated and unpredictable. That his great-grandmother had dark hair. She didn't. I've literally seen dozens of family photos and she had light blonde hair her entire life. He said I was trying to ruin his happiness because I was jealous that he had a family and I didn't. I'm happily single by choice for the record, and that comment really hurt. I can't believe you would accuse Melissa of cheating, he said. She would never do that. We went through hell trying to have this baby, and now that we finally have him, you want to destroy our family with conspiracy theories. I tried to backtrack, said I wasn't accusing anyone of anything, just suggesting the test for peace of mind. But he wasn't having it. He paid for his lunch, said he needed space for me, and left. I felt terrible. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I had just destroyed my relationship with my brother over nothing. I decided to drop it entirely and just be supportive, regardless of my suspicions. The family dinner. 2 weeks ago, my parents hosted a family dinner. It was supposed to be a nice evening. Dean and Melissa, me, our parents, and Melissa's parents who were visiting from out of state. Melissa's mom, Carol, is a nice woman, but she can't hold her wine. By the time we got to dessert, she'd had 3 glasses and was getting chatty and emotional about how beautiful Tyler was. I just think it's wonderful, Carol said, getting misty-eyed, that everything worked out. After everything you two went through, and then Marcus helping out during such a difficult time, it's just beautiful. Tyler is such a blessing. The entire table went silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Melissa's face drained of all color. Mom dash. I mean, I know it was complicated, Carol continued, oblivious to the tension, but I'm just grateful that Marcus was there when you needed him and that Dean is such an understanding man dash. Emma. Melissa practically shouted. Stop talking. Carol looked confused, then seemed to realize what she'd said. Oh no. I didn't mean. I just meant that he was a good friend during a difficult time. But the damage was done. The implication was crystal clear. My dad looked uncomfortable. My mom looked shocked. Dean was staring at his plate. Melissa looked like she was going to be sick. I made an excuse and left early. I couldn't be there. The whole drive home, my hands were shaking. The truth comes out. That night, around 11 p.m., my phone rang. It was Dean. He was crying. Can I come over? He asked. Of course. He showed up 20 minutes later, eyes red and swollen. We sat on my couch, and he just broke down completely. And then he told me everything. He'd known since Tyler was born that he wasn't the biological father. He'd done a paternity test without telling anyone, took Tyler to the pediatrician for a routine checkup, and asked them to do it then. The results came back negative. 0 chance of paternity. When he confronted Melissa, she admitted everything. During the worst part of their fertility struggles, about 2 years ago, they'd had a massive fight. Dean had been working late constantly, throwing himself into his career to avoid dealing with the pain of not being able to have children. Melissa felt abandoned and lonely. Marcus wasn't just a childhood friend. He was an ex-boyfriend from college that Melissa had reconnected with on social media. They'd been messaging, and it had become emotional. One night when Dean was out of town for a work trip and Melissa was particularly low, Marcus came over. According to Melissa, it only happened once. One night. And she got pregnant. She didn't tell Dean immediately. She was terrified. She considered abortion but couldn't go through with it. By the time she told Dean she was pregnant, she was already 12 weeks along. She convinced herself that maybe, somehow, it could be Dean's. That maybe the doctors were wrong, and this was their miracle. When Tyler was born and clearly wasn't Dean's, she begged him to stay. She said it was a mistake, that she loved Dean, that she wanted them to be a family. She promised to cut off all contact with Marcus, though apparently having him at the baptism was Marcus's condition for not telling anyone. He wanted to be involved in some way. Dean, who had wanted to be a father his entire life, who had grieved the loss of that possibility, couldn't walk away. He loved Melissa. He'd been there for the entire pregnancy. He'd held Tyler when he was born. In his words, "I'm the only father Tyler's ever known. I can't just abandon him because of DNA." But it was destroying him. He was living a lie. Every time someone commented on how Tyler looked like him or called the baby a miracle, it was like a knife to the heart. He was raising another man's child, and only a handful of people knew the truth: him, Melissa, Marcus, and apparently Carol. And now me. "Why didn't you tell me when I asked?" I said. "When I suggested the paternity test." "Because saying it out loud makes it real," he said. "And I'm not ready for it to be real. I'm not ready for our parents to know, for our entire family to know. I'm not ready for everyone to look at me with pity or to treat Tyler differently. I just want to pretend that he's mine, and we're a normal, happy family." I held him while he cried. I told him I supported whatever decision he made, but that I was worried about him. This secret was eating him alive. "I just need you to keep this quiet," he said. "Please. Don't tell anyone. I'll figure out how to handle it, but I can't deal with the fallout right now." I promised. But I also told him that I couldn't actively participate in the lie. I wouldn't announce it to the world, but I also wouldn't play along with calling Tyler a miracle or pretending he looked like Dean or acting like everything was normal. I needed to be able to step back. Dean said he understood. He left around 2 a.m. The explosion. Apparently, Dean told Melissa that I knew the truth. I'm guessing she pushed him on why I'd left the dinner early, or why I hadn't been as involved with Tyler lately, and he cracked. Yesterday afternoon, my phone rang. It was Melissa. I almost didn't answer, but I figured I should. The moment I picked up, she started screaming. I'm talking full volume, hysterical screaming. I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "How dare you?" she shrieked. "How dare you try to destroy my family? Dean told me what you said, and I am done with your jealous, toxic behavior." Melissa dash. "No. You don't get to talk. You've been trying to sabotage my relationship with Dean from the beginning. You never liked me. You've always been jealous that Dean chose me over you dash." "That's not dash." I said no. "You are uninvited from Christmas. You are not welcome in my home. You are not welcome around my family. If you can't be supportive and keep your opinions to yourself, then you don't get to be part of our lives." I tried to defend myself, to explain that I hadn't told anyone and wasn't planning to, but she wouldn't listen. "If you tell anyone about this, I will make sure you never see Tyler again. I will turn this entire family against you. Dean might feel guilty about you right now, but I will make him choose between you and his son, and trust me, you will lose." Then she hung up. I sat there in shock for a good 10 minutes. Then I started crying. Then I got angry. Then I cried again. She's blaming me for a situation that she created. She's the one who cheated. She's the one who's been lying to everyone. I didn't do anything except refuse to actively participate in that lie. The aftermath. Since then, it's been a nightmare. My parents called yesterday evening. They don't know the full truth. Dean hasn't told them, but they know something happened between Melissa and me at the dinner. "Honey, Melissa called us very upset," my mom said. "She said you've been making inappropriate comments about Tyler and that she doesn't feel comfortable having you at Christmas." I tried to explain without revealing the truth. "Mom, I haven't said anything inappropriate. There's some stuff going on that Dean needs to tell you about himself. It's not my place." "Well, Melissa says you've been implying that Tyler isn't Dean's child, which is just cruel and absurd." My dad got on the phone. "Sweetie, I don't know what's going on, but it's Christmas. Can you just apologize to Melissa and smooth this over? For the family? I don't have anything to apologize for." "Then just apologize anyway. Sometimes keeping the peace is more important than being right." That made me so angry. Why is it always on me to keep the peace? Why do I have to apologize for something I didn't do? Why is no one questioning why Melissa is being so aggressive and defensive? But I couldn't say any of that without revealing Dean's secret. Dean has been texting me, but they're short messages. "I'm sorry Melissa called you. I didn't know she was going to uninvite you. I'm trying to fix this." But he's not really standing up for me, not in any meaningful way. My parents are now pressuring me to apologize so we can all be together for Christmas as a family. Some of my extended family have started hearing that there's drama and are reaching out asking what's going on. I've been vague, but I can tell people are starting to take sides without even knowing what the sides are. I feel completely alone in this. I didn't ask to be put in this position. I didn't ask to know the truth. I've kept Dean's secret like he asked. But I'm being punished anyway. Part of me wants to just tell my parents everything. Let the truth come out, and let the chips fall where they may. But that would betray Dean's trust, and despite everything, he's still my brother, and I love him. But I also can't just apologize to Melissa and pretend everything is fine. I can't sit at Christmas dinner and smile and play along while she plays victim and paints me as the villain in a situation she created. I'm sitting here in my apartment, alone, uninvited from Christmas, being called a family destroyer, all because I refuse to enthusiastically participate in a lie. So Reddit, I'm asking, am I the asshole here? Should I just apologize and keep the peace? Should I tell my parents the truth? Should I just skip Christmas and let Dean figure this out on his own? I genuinely don't know what to do anymore. Edit 1. Holy crap, this blew up. I'm trying to read all the comments. Thank you for the support. I genuinely thought I was going crazy. Edit 2. For everyone saying, just tell your parents. I promised Dean I wouldn't. He's going through enough, and I don't want to add to it by betraying his trust. Even if I think he's making a terrible decision by staying with Melissa, it's his decision to make. Edit 3. Some people are saying genetics are weird and Tyler could still be Dean's. Dean did a paternity test. It came back negative. This isn't speculation. Edit 4. To the people DMing me saying I'm jealous or that I want Dean for myself, that's disgusting. He's my brother. I love him and want him to be happy. That's literally the only reason I'm in this mess. Edit 5. Dean just texted me. He wants to meet for coffee tomorrow morning. No idea what this is about, but I'll update after we talk. Update. Meeting Dean in an hour. I'm nervous. We'll update this afternoon. Update post. Okay, I met with Dean this morning. I'm still processing everything, but I promised I'd update, so here goes. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our apartments. Dean looked terrible, like he hasn't slept in days. He ordered a black coffee, and we sat in a corner booth away from everyone else. He started by apologizing. Really, genuinely apologizing. He said that Melissa calling and screaming at me was completely out of line, and that he should have shut it down immediately, but he was too shocked to react in the moment. He said he's been a terrible brother, and he's sorry for putting me in this position. Then he told me that things with Melissa have been getting worse. After Carol's slip at the dinner, Melissa has been paranoid that the truth is going to come out. She's been lashing out at Dean, accusing him of telling people, demanding to know every conversation he has with family members. The night before, they'd had a huge fight and she'd threatened to leave and take Tyler if Dean didn't get me under control. That's why she called me. Dean didn't know she was going to, but when he found out, he didn't stop her because he's terrified of her leaving with Tyler. I know it makes me pathetic, he said. I know I should stand up for you. But I can't lose Tyler. He's my son, regardless of biology. If she leaves, I have no legal rights. I'm not on the birth certificate as the father Marcus is. Wait, what? That was news to me. Apparently, Melissa insisted on putting Marcus on the birth certificate for legal reasons and in case something happened to her. Dean agreed because he was so desperate to keep the peace. So legally, Marcus is Tyler's father. Dean has been acting as the father, but he has zero legal standing. I was furious. Dean, you need to talk to a lawyer. You need to figure out your rights. You can't let her hold Tyler hostage. He knows. He's been talking to a lawyer secretly for the past few weeks. The lawyer told him that because he's not the biological father and isn't on the birth certificate, his options are limited. He could potentially argue for de facto parentage or seek visitation rights, but it would be a long, expensive legal battle with no guarantee of success. And it would require the truth coming out publicly, which means court records, family knowing, potential gossip in their social circles, and workplace. Dean's considering divorce, but he's terrified. Terrified of losing Tyler, terrified of everyone knowing the truth, terrified of being alone. Then he asked me something that broke my heart. Do you think I'm stupid for staying? I wanted to say yes. I wanted to tell him that Melissa manipulated him, lied to him, cheated on him, and is now controlling him through Tyler. I wanted to tell him that he deserves so much better. But instead, I said, I think you're making the best decision you can with an impossible situation. And whatever you decide, I'm here for you. He started crying again. We talked for almost 2 hours. He's going to tell our parents the truth after the holidays. He can't keep living like this, pretending everything is fine. But he wants one last Christmas where everyone is happy and no one knows, before everything falls apart. He asked if I would come to Christmas and just keep the peace. For him. One last time. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Part of me wants to stand my ground.
But another part of me thinks about Dean and how much he's struggling, and how this might be the last normal Christmas our family has together. I told him I'd think about it. So that's where things stand. I still haven't apologized to Melissa. Dean is planning to tell our parents in January, and I have to decide whether to go to Christmas and play pretend one more time or stick to my principles and skip it. What would you do?